Before I left for the mission, I broke up with my girlfriend. She said she would marry a rich man immediately and that I shouldn't regret it. I said I would never regret it, and if I was lying, I'd turn into a puppy. A year later, with a bloody, limping leg, I traveled over mountains and rivers to crouch at her doorstep. And in her pocket, she carefully kept my memorial photograph. In the first year after being buried alive, I became a stray dog. I had the memories of my past life and the instincts of a dog. I ran for half a month, my paws worn raw, until I finally found Nancy's home. I crouched at her doorstep and barked with all my might. Woof, 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 woof. Nancy, 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 Nancy. I'm back. Amidst the neighbors' curses, the old iron gate creaked open. The person I had longed for day and night finally appeared before me. I leaped into her arms with excitement. Nancy, dressed simply, was startled and nearly lost her balance. She saw the blood on my paws and frowned, stroking my head. Whose little dog are you? How did you get hurt? I shook my head vigorously, whimpering softly. I'm Leo. I'm your Leo. I lied, so I became a puppy to find you. Do you remember me? I gently nipped at Nancy's fingers and led her into the house. Once inside, I familiarized myself with the surroundings, but I couldn't find a single trace of myself. The photos I had taken were gone. The little turtle I had raised was replaced by a goldfish. Even the beanbag chair I had personally modified was gone. This home was no longer warm. Instead, it was shrouded in a cold, dead silence. I was a little angry. Even if we had broken up, there was no need to throw everything away. Nancy had clearly said that even if we weren't together anymore, she would keep these things for a lifetime. I was angry at her for not keeping her promise and stared at her with wide eyes. She chuckled, gently picking me up. As she moved, I saw a few white hairs on her head. She was only 24, yet she had white hair. My anger was instantly washed away by a wave of heartache. I started to whimper anxiously. She patted my belly, comforting me. I know you're hungry. Just a little longer, I'll get you something to eat. She skillfully took a piece of chicken from the refrigerator and sliced it with practiced ease. But I remembered she couldn't cook, and her knife skills were terrible. What had Nancy been through this past year? She filled a large bowl with chicken and gently brought it to my mouth. You must be starving. Make do with this. The smell of the meat made me forget my manners, and I devoured it in large gulps. As I was eating, the door opened again, and a gruff male voice entered my ears. Nancy Song, why didn't you turn off the lights? Is electricity free? A man in a bright yellow delivery uniform walked in, scowling. He saw me and his eyebrows knitted together instantly. Where did this stray dog come from? Nancy explained calmly, I don't know. It just came in when I opened the door and has been clinging to me ever since. I felt sorry for it, so I brought it home to give it something to eat. The man's presence made me instinctively dislike him. I looked him over, and he seemed familiar, but I couldn't place him. Get rid of it. I don't even get to eat chicken that often, and you're feeding it to a dog. Nancy's voice was cold. It's just a little bit of chicken. What's wrong with giving it to him? Seeing Nancy talk back, the man's expression turned ferocious, and he raised his hand to slap her. I instinctively bared my sharp teeth and lunged, viciously biting his raised arm. He cried out in pain, frantically trying to shake me off. But my eyes were red with fury, and I wouldn't let go. I wouldn't even dare to touch her, and he dared to hit her. I'm going to bite him to death. The man, screaming for his mother, slammed me against the wall. It felt like my organs were being crushed, and I lost my grip. He picked up a chair from the floor and was about to smash it on me when Nancy, terrified, quickly shielded me with her body. The man saw this and said viciously, Why are you protecting this stray dog? What? Are you having an affair with it? How dare he insult Nancy? A surge of anger welled up inside me. I ignored the excruciating pain and squeezed out from behind Nancy, baring my teeth and growling at the man. The man was still afraid of me and didn't come any closer, but he sneered. This dog is just like that traitor Leo. No wonder you can't resist. Hearing my name, Nancy, who had been silent, suddenly picked up the kitchen knife from the cutting board and charged at the man recklessly. Her eyes were bloodshot, filled with a deep sorrow, as if she were enduring something unbearable. Mark Lee, say that again, and I'll die with you today. This was the first time I had seen this side of Nancy. In my mind, she was like a pure white flower, never so fierce and disheveled. Seeing that Nancy might actually fight him to the death, he threw down the chair and stormed into the bedroom. Before he slammed the door shut, he cursed. Damn it! How did I end up marrying such a spendthrift bitch? I was stunned. Nancy had actually gotten married. I was a police officer. Because of the nature of my work, I couldn't be with Nancy for much of the year. We often argued. She complained that I always left her alone, that I couldn't give her anything. I felt that she didn't understand me, and I blamed her for not being gentle enough. She held back her tears and said that if I didn't start caring for her, she would immediately find someone taller, more handsome, and richer than me to marry. But the man she had married was neither tall nor handsome, and he lived with her in the same rented apartment building we had lived in. He didn't seem to have any money either. Nancy slumped against the wall like a puppet. A sharp pain pierced my heart. I squeezed into her arms and nuzzled her chin. "Don't be sad, Nancy. He's not good to you, but I will be." Nancy didn't mind the stench on my body and held me as she took me to the pet hospital. The doctor frowned when he saw my paws. "He doesn't have any major illnesses, but the wounds on his forepaws are so deep you can see the bone." "How far did he run?" I didn't know how far I had run. I only knew that I wanted to see Nancy. Even though we often argued, I knew I loved her. Before I died, she was the only one I couldn't let go of. For her, I would cross raging rivers and treacherous mountain roads, and for a mouthful of spoiled food, I would be chased and beaten by security guards in public. Beaten until my mouth was full of blood. Nancy watched as the doctor bandaged my wounds. Even with such a serious injury, he doesn't cry. He's so brave. I obediently rested my head in her hand, responding to her. "Of course, as long as I think about seeing you, I won't cry no matter how much it hurts." "I can't cry. Nancy will worry." She stroked my head with pity. In fact, in this life, the moment I opened my eyes, I was locked in a dog meat shop. The owner had wrapped a heavy chain around my neck and hung me from a tree. I couldn't break free, so I could only let out human-like whimpers. An uncle who had come to use the restroom saw my pitiful state and bought me for 1,000 yuan. He took me to another city. His family was well off, and they raised me to be big and strong. But I couldn't indulge in such a comfortable life, because I had said so. One day, the uncle got drunk and passed out on the side of the road. I stood guard over him all night, and after making sure his family had taken him home, I turned and ran towards Nancy's city. The two cities were hundreds of kilometers apart, but luckily, I had a good memory and remembered the way home. Along the way, I went from being a fat, strong dog to a skinny, bony one. I rarely slept. I was afraid that if I did, I would never wake up. I had to persevere. I had said that if I lied, I would become her little dog. The unspoken meaning was that no matter what I became after death, I would protect her for a lifetime. Now, my head rested in her hands, smelling the faint scent of gardenia on her, and all the bitterness turned to sweetness. "Are you looking for me?" Nancy and I looked at each other. I nibbled on her little finger and shook it gently. She suddenly froze, as if lost in a memory. Only after the doctor had bandaged my wounds did she snap out of it and smile. But in her eyes, I only saw a deep sorrow. When it was time to pay, she awkwardly pulled out a few crumpled red bills under the watchful eye of the staff. The staff politely reminded her that it wasn't enough. I immediately picked up the bag of nutritional supplements and nudged it towards her with my nose. "I don't want it." They both looked at me in surprise. Nancy sniffled and asked in a hoarse voice, "Are you trying to save me money?" I nodded vigorously. The Leo who became a puppy has to learn to help Nancy lighten her burden. Nancy named me Grape, because she said my eyes were as big and round as grapes. The name was childish, but to make her happy, I accepted it gladly. After she got home, she simply packed a few clothes, grabbed a small black bag, and took me to an urban village. Nancy opened the door and changed her shoes with a practiced familiarity, as if she had been here countless times. In my memory, she had never brought me here. The room was small and shabby, and a thin, haggard old man was lying in the corner of the bed. Hearing the noise, he opened his cloudy eyes and looked over. I suddenly remembered that he was Nancy's father. After I got together with Nancy, I had only met her father once. At that time, he was still working at the hospital and was in good spirits. "How did he end up like this? Why are you back?" He was very weak, but his tone was harsh. Nancy was making a bed on the floor. "I'm staying for a few days." Nancy's father snorted in disapproval. "Did you fight with Mark again? You're already married, and you're always running back to your parents' house. What will the neighbors think? I've had cancer for 2 years. I've been holding on for you. I can only go in peace after I see you get married and have children." He rambled on, but I couldn't hear anything else. Nancy's father had had cancer for 2 years, and she hadn't told me. Then again, I was rarely home. How could she tell me? Mark's conditions are worse than Leo's. but he's honest and family-oriented. Can Leo do what he can do? He broke up with you so decisively, and he's a traitor to the police force. You should forget about him and live a good life with Mark. Do you hear me?" Nancy remained silent, but her breathing became heavier when she heard my name. The old man on the bed, feeling his authority challenged, picked up the glass from the bedside table and threw it at Nancy's head. Bright red blood instantly gushed from her forehead. It all happened so fast. I didn't protect her. A sharp pain pierced my heart, and I whimpered in distress. "Are you trying to make me die sooner? Where did you pick up this dog? Get rid of it. This is my house, not yours." Every word he said was harsh. Nancy picked up the blanket and her small bag from the floor and stood up, holding me in her arms. Her voice was calm, yet firm. "Leo is not a traitor. I married Mark not because he was good, but because you guilt-tripped me into it. If you compare Mark and Leo again, I will divorce him immediately and let you be drowned in the neighbors' gossip." After she finished speaking, she ignored the even more intense curses behind her and walked out without looking back. Before I heard this, I had once thought that she had long forgotten me. When we broke up, I said a lot of harsh things and hurt her feelings, but she was still speaking up for me. A huge wave of regret washed over my heart. My throat was sore. I watched her spread the blanket in the corner and took the initiative to crouch by her legs. The light from the street lamp shone on her pale face, half of which was covered in blood and the other half in tears. For a moment, she seemed to have aged 10 years. "I'm sorry. It turns out you hid so much from me. When you needed me, I wasn't there." I tilted my head and lifted my paw to scratch her hand. She forced a smile. "Grape, they say dogs can see the dead. Can you see a boy? His name is Leo. He's very handsome, and he has 2 little canine teeth when he smiles." I rested my head on her lap and listened to her quietly. Nancy looked up at the crescent moon, a slight smile on her lips. "He grew up with me. He was like a mountain, always protecting me. Our hometown was in a remote small town, and she was the most beautiful girl in town. The security in a small town was not good, and being beautiful always attracted unwanted attention. I was always by her side, fighting for her, helping her out of trouble. A young boy's love is direct and simple. I liked her, so I wanted to protect her. She had a fight with her family and was kicked out. She walked along the river all night. I followed her all night. I knew he was behind me, so I dared to keep walking." Nancy stroked my matted fur. I barked excitedly. "So she knew I was there that day." She smiled and patted my back. "It's just that no one will ever protect me like he did again." Hearing this, I immediately stood up, lifted my head, and sat in front of her, trying to look fierce, and barked a few times at the surroundings. "It's okay. Leo is not here, but Grape is. When we broke up, I had no intention of coming back." Nancy argued with me, but I knew she would wait for me like she always did. But what she got was endless scolding. How desperate must Nancy have been at that time? She opened the small black bag she had been carrying and carefully took out a stack of photos. The first one was my graduation photo. A neat buzz cut, a clean shirt, a sunny smile. She stared at the photo, her eyes gradually turning red. I jumped up and pawed at it, not wanting her to look anymore. But she hid the photo in her arms, stubborn and determined. "Grape, don't be naughty. This is Leo. He passed away a year ago. For the past year, I've been looking for information about him. No one believes him, but I do. I have to find the truth and clear his name." "Nancy, are you a fool? You're a lonely girl. What truth are you going to find for me?" I anxiously circled her legs, patting her hand with my tail. After I knew he was dead, I almost didn't make it. But the overwhelming online abuse against him kept me alive. Before I die, I have to at least make him clean. Nancy squatted under the dim yellow street lamp. Her eyes, which had long lost their luster, were exceptionally resolute. I suddenly saw my own shadow in her. So stubborn. After I left, she seemed to become more and more like me. Mark wasn't home, so Nancy took me back to the rented house to take a bath. While the water was heating up, she put my graduation photo in her shirt pocket, her movements familiar, as if she had done it many times before. I knew she couldn't let go, but I didn't want her to do anything foolish. In fact, before I broke up with her, I had already written a suicide note. I had hidden it in the corner of the bedroom, hoping that when she saw it, she would be able to let me go and live a good life. But it seemed she didn't know yet. Thinking of this, I ran from the bathroom to the bedroom and started digging frantically, unearthing the letter that was wrapped in layers of plastic bags. I brought the letter to Nancy. She looked at me with confusion. "What is this? Look at it. You'll know when you read it." The words I didn't say are all in there. Under my expectant gaze, Nancy took the envelope. She sat down on the small sofa in the living room, wiped her hands, and then slowly opened it. Nancy, I'm Leo. I really love you so much. I'm sorry I didn't say this to you in person. As I'm writing this letter, you're sleeping next to me. I wanted to cry several times, but I held it in, afraid of waking you, afraid you would blame me. I was also afraid that after seeing your eyes, I would no longer have the determination to die. To me, you are not only my lover, but also my family. Before I met you, I was wandering everywhere. After I met you, I finally had a sense of belonging. I once secretly imagined our wedding. Neither of us has many relatives or friends, so we could have a simple one. We could use the money we saved to travel. From the age of 15 to 24, I saved some money. The card is in the envelope. The password is your birthday. I am very grateful to the hard-working me of the past for not leaving you with nothing after I died. Every time we argued, you said you wanted to dump me and find a rich man, but you also felt sorry for me and said you didn't want a dowry when we got married. I know you were just being difficult. In reality, you were more afraid of burdening me than anyone else. But to me, this is not a burden, but a concrete form of happiness. Working hard to make money for the one you love is a kind of happiness. But I am a police officer. My happiness is a small matter. Only when everyone is happy can I dare to be happy. Choosing to break up with you was not my original intention. I just wanted to make you less sad. And in writing this letter, I don't want to see you sad either. I just can't rest assured, afraid that your stubborn self will do something foolish. That day, I told you that if I lied, I would turn into a puppy. I did lie, so I said that on purpose. Because I know your favorite animal is a puppy. If I become a puppy, I can continue to be with you and protect you. If one day, a puppy comes to you after traveling over mountains and rivers, you have to remember that it must be me. When I was a human, I carried too many things on my shoulders. Even the love I gave you was not pure. It's really good to be a dog. At least I don't have to be so tired. I can just watch over you. Even if a dog's life is only a short 10 years. I don't know if it will come true. I can only pray over and over again. So in the days before I appear, please take care of yourself. Eat well, sleep well, and live well. The one who loves you the most, Leo. Woof, woof, woof. I lay at Nancy's feet and whimpered. Nancy's tears fell drop by drop onto the letter. After she came to her senses, she asked me with red eyes, her voice trembling. Grape, are you Leo? Woof, woof, woof. Woof, 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 woof. I am Leo. I have come to find you, Nancy. Seeing my excited response, Nancy covered her mouth in shock and helplessness, her whole body trembling. Are you really Leo? Nancy clutched the yellowed letter in her hand and slowly approached me. She went from a sitting position to squatting on the ground. A small ball, she wrapped me in her arms. I quickly rubbed against her knees, her chin, her cheeks, and used my head to rub away her constantly falling tears. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof. Nancy's breath caught for a moment. She suddenly hugged me tightly, her quiet sobs turning into loud wails. How did you find me? Your paws are so worn out, and you're so thin. How much have you suffered? Are you a fool? Nancy's eyes were red and swollen from crying. She lovingly stroked my head, my paws, and my fur. Every movement was filled with an unbelievable focus and cherish. I miss you so much. I miss you so much. She and I snuggled together, like our younger selves. I whimpered, not daring to be too loud. Nancy, I miss you too. Every day away from you felt like 10,000 years. It's my fault. I was both a coward and selfish. I didn't even have the courage to say a proper goodbye. I made you wait until now. You bastard, why did you only come back now? When you were looking for me, where did you sleep? What did you eat? What did you drink? Nancy asked me incoherently. I thought about it. I slept most often in damp culverts. They were relatively remote, so I didn't have to hide from dog abusers and perverts who ate dog meat. When I was hungry, I ate other people's garbage. When I was thirsty, I drank rainwater from puddles. The culverts were cold and damp. My bones ached all over when I slept. The garbage was smelly and didn't fill me up. My stomach would cramp with pain. The rainwater in the puddles had a strange, industrial smell. Just smelling it made me want to vomit. But how could I let Nancy know about this? I jumped up and gestured to the refrigerator with my chin. Look, Nancy, I ate clean food from the refrigerator. I didn't suffer much. She understood my meaning and finally smiled. It's been getting colder this month. You're so afraid of the cold. What if you catch a cold? Nancy started crying again, biting her lip and stroking my head over and over again, constantly saying she was sorry. I don't want your apology. I stood up anxiously and squeezed into her arms, resting my head on her shoulder to comfort her. She cried until she couldn't breathe. I squeezed out again and frantically brought her a bottle of mineral water. Nancy, don't blame yourself. I'm not cold. The thought of seeing you makes my heart warm. Listen to my heartbeat. It's so alive. The dead Leo can no longer feel the temperature, but your little dog's heart is like a furnace. Nancy, be good. I'm not cold. If you're cold, you can hug the little dog. Nancy opened an old wooden box and put the letter and bank card inside. I picked up the small black bag with the bloody photos and threw it in angrily. Nancy, don't look at these things. My case will be handled by professionals. You don't have to risk yourself for me. Living happily and freely is my greatest joy. Nancy had been watching my every move and smiled helplessly. She put the small black bag away, solemnly, as if she had let go of some obsession. I went over to look and was surprised to find that it was full of my things. The camera and photos I had left behind, the notebook I had received as a reward for my first major achievement, and the half-finished puzzle. There was even the cover of the beanbag chair I had modified. I looked at the focused Nancy with wet eyes and gently rested my head on her back. At this moment, it felt like forever. Yes, this is how it should be. It's all in the past. The one who is alive is the most important. After putting everything away, Nancy gave me a bath as if nothing had happened. She put plastic bags on my 4 paws, and I let her do as she pleased. I used to argue with her all the time in my past life. In this life, I want to be an obedient little dog. I won't make her angry, and I won't make her sad. Just as the bath was about to finish, my ears suddenly twitched. Mark was back. The thought of this person made me uncomfortable all over. It wasn't because he had hit me last time, but because of a gut feeling. But I had never seen him before. Nancy calmly helped me dry my fur, ignoring the approaching footsteps behind her. I glared at him viciously, baring my teeth. The disgusting fat on his face jiggled. He took a step back, but he still had to sneer. Oh, you know how to come back? Why don't you just die outside? Before Nancy could speak, I jumped out of the plastic basin and stood in front of her. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, 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 woof. Scum, get out. Don't come near Nancy, or I'll tear you to pieces. Mark's arm still had the bite mark from last time. He was still scared. He glared at me viciously, spat on the ground, and then left. As soon as he left, the hostility in my body instantly dissipated. I wagged my tail and whimpered, rubbing against Nancy's hand for praise. See, Nancy, whether as a human or a dog, I am very powerful and can protect you. Nancy seemed to see the pride in my eyes and stroked my still damp fur. Leo, I know you want to protect me, but remember to protect yourself too. Don't be like last time. I can't lose you again. I swept my tail in a circle, spraying water everywhere, to show my agreement. She rubbed my face and used my ears to cover my eyes. I couldn't see her expression. I didn't know if she was laughing or crying. Thank you, Leo. I whimpered. Why thank me? I have to protect you. I have to protect you. Protecting you is an instinct carved into my soul. Nancy held me in her arms and scrolled through a file on her phone. I stared at the bright screen and watched her open a divorce agreement. The file was downloaded 6 months ago. She let out a long sigh, as if she had finally made a decision. Leo, I got married just a year after you left. Will you blame me? Mark was a blind date introduced by a relative. I didn't want to, but my dad went on a hunger strike. He said seeing me get married and have children was his dying wish. Nancy looked at me apologetically, her tone hesitant. If he wasn't good to me, I could have just refused. But he had shown me love before, and I couldn't bring myself to say no. She sniffled and played with my paws. She only did this when she was at a loss. I suddenly felt very sorry for her. In the 20-something years I had known her, she had always been giving to others, putting on shackles for others. Even though she didn't like it, even though she didn't want to, she would still agree and do it. I knew it wasn't because she was a pushover, but because she was too soft-hearted and kind. If someone was good to her for 1 point, she would remember it for 3 and repay them with 7. When she was a child, she was very soft and was often bullied. When she grew up, she acted very fierce, trying to put on a suit of armor. Only I knew what she was really like. Will you scold me for being stupid, for being a doormat, and then secretly hide and cry at night? I turned around, opened my big eyes, and barked softly. No, I was the one who neglected you. I was the one who didn't become your support. Nancy scrolled up and down on her phone screen and murmured, Now, I don't want to compromise anymore. Although I didn't agree with her saying I would hide and cry, I still jumped up and nodded excitedly, my tail wagging like a propeller. Yes, yes, you have to be good, Nancy. After suffering so much, you have to go to a good place and live a good life. In the days without Leo, you have to learn to love yourself. Mark went to deliver food. Nancy was going out to print the divorce agreement. Afraid that my foot injury would worsen, she left me at home. My gaze followed her until the iron gate was closed and my view was blocked. I quickly ran to the window and watched her leave the apartment building before I felt relieved and went back. Afraid that I would be thirsty or hungry, Nancy had left me a small bowl of water and cooked chicken. I drank a few sips of water and lay by the door, obediently waiting for her to come home. The print shop was not far from here. She should be back soon, right? I waited and waited, my head getting heavier and heavier. Before I passed out, the iron gate was opened, revealing Mark's ferocious face. You damn dog, you dared to bite me. I'm going to skin you alive. I had no strength at all and collapsed heavily on the ground. Nancy, I'm sorry, I'm going to make you worry again. When I woke up, I was tied up in a snakeskin bag. My vision was blurry, but I could smell Mark's scent. Damn it. I'm only helping you because you're my cousin, but you still haven't given me the money you promised. I can't even make ends meet. What are you rushing for? I don't have enough people yet. A familiar voice sounded. My pupils instantly constricted, and my fur stood on end. It was him. The scumbag who had killed me, Michael Liu. A year ago, my teammates had used the information I had passed on to them to destroy several of their dens. But their business network was vast. A year later, some of them were still at large. I never thought he would have contact with Mark. My heart beat violently. I secretly gnawed at the rope on my feet. I had to get out. How many more people do you need? Mark snorted coldly. Michael suddenly chuckled. Just one more. Didn't I tell you Nancy's song is a good one? That broad's old man is about to die. If she disappears, no one will know. Hearing Nancy's name, my blood instantly froze. No. My eyes were bloodshot. I desperately bit at the snakeskin bag. Because I was too anxious, I made a little noise uncontrollably. The two of them looked over at me. Why did you tie up a dog? Mark cursed angrily. This animal has been protecting Nancy's song. It almost bit off a piece of my flesh. If it wasn't for it, I would have caught that bitch this morning. Michael was clearly skeptical. Are you trying to trick me? Mark suddenly raised his voice. I'll kill it right now. We'll meet at the same old place tonight. I'll definitely bring the person to you. You just wait. Footsteps gradually approached me. I used all my strength, and, before he could open the bag, I broke free from the rope and bit him on the nose. Mark was knocked to the ground by me, screaming in pain. My sharp teeth pierced his nose, and blood sprayed everywhere. Cousin, save me. Michael immediately pulled out a small knife. I let go before he could get close and rushed out. I couldn't waste time. I had to find Nancy immediately. I ran forward recklessly, the gauze on my feet gradually soaked with blood, but I didn't dare to stop for a second. Nancy, you have to be okay. Luckily, Mark hadn't taken me too far. I ran back to the apartment building, covered in blood. From a distance, I heard Nancy's voice. She was pulling people aside and asking if they had seen a wolf dog with an injured leg. Woof, woof, woof. Woof, woof, woof. Nancy, I'm here. I ran towards her with all my might, scaring many children along the way. Nancy was attracted by my barking and rushed towards me anxiously. She even fell a few times, her knees scraped and bleeding. Her shirt was soaked with sweat, her hair was messy, and her whole being exuded a huge fear. Where did you go? Why are you covered in so much blood? She cried as she held me. I collapsed in her arms, exhausted, and howled. Run first, Nancy. But Nancy didn't understand my meaning. Seeing me injured, she anxiously carried me up the stairs. She placed me on the sofa. I panted heavily, my tongue hanging out. She went to the bedroom to get her wallet and phone, intending to take me to the hospital. Suddenly, my sensitive hearing picked up Mark's voice. He was being stopped by an old lady downstairs, and I didn't know what they were talking about. I instantly tensed up, struggled to jump off the sofa, and quickly ran into the bedroom. I bit Nancy's hem and pulled her out with all my might. She saw my anxiety and immediately asked me, "What's wrong?" I let out a threatening growl from my throat. "Is there danger?" I nodded excitedly, pulling at her clothes. Nancy didn't say anything else. She grabbed her bag and followed me out the door. I didn't take her down the usual stairs. I dragged her and ran down the other side. When I was looking for her, I had familiarized myself with all the paths here. The other side was far from the main gate. so not many people walk there. After much effort, we finally avoided Mark and reached the side door. Just as I was about to let out a sigh of relief and tell Nancy to call the police, I smelled a familiar scent. Mark jumped out from the corner, covered Nancy's mouth and nose, and dragged her into the abandoned building next door. I was given a tranquilizer by Michael and fell against the wall. Blood choked my nasal cavity, and I coughed violently. Nancy's face was pale, and she struggled desperately. But she was pinned down by Mark and couldn't move. "Run, you bitch." Mark's nose was still wrapped in gauze. He resentfully choked Nancy's neck. "You deliberately raised that dog, didn't you? You knew all along, didn't you?" Nancy was being choked until her face turned red. She didn't give the other person a single glance and struggled to turn her head to look at me. Michael saw this and pulled out a small knife, stabbing it into my thigh. I fell into a pool of blood and anxiously barked at Nancy, my barks getting smaller and smaller. "I'm sorry, Nancy. I'm really useless." Nancy's eyes widened, and she let out a heart-wrenching scream. With a strength she didn't know she had, she pushed Mark away and ran to me, trembling. "Leo." Michael spat on the ground. "Oh, you're still calling him Leo? I know him very well." Nancy held me and turned her head stiffly. "What do you mean?" Michael grinned, but his eyes were incredibly ruthless. "If you want to find Leo, go look in the mountains. You might find some tattered clothes." Michael became more and more excited as he spoke, and Nancy's breathing became more and more rapid. He talked endlessly about the details of that day. Nancy instantly broke down. Her lips trembled, and her whole body suddenly lost its support, and she sat on the ground in pain. "Leo? Leo." I desperately lifted my head and rubbed Nancy's chin. "Don't cry. Why are you talking so much nonsense? We'll deal with this dog later. Tie up this broad first." Nancy stood up silently and took out a sharp knife from her small black bag. She raised her bloodshot eyes, her gaze filled with a hatred that wanted to eat their flesh and drink their blood. "You deserve to die." She said these words one by one, as if she had used all her strength. I don't know when she put this knife in her bag. Perhaps she had always carried it with her. Perhaps the moment she learned of my death, she had hidden this knife. Mark and Michael looked at each other and both laughed. That's right. Nancy was so thin and small. Even with a knife, she would not be their opponent. I thrashed about violently, baring my teeth at Michael and Mark. But Nancy took the opportunity to pick me up and throw me out the window. Before my vision was completely blocked, I saw her smile at me. The air was damp and sticky. I was surrounded by a huge sense of suffocation. We were trapped on the second floor. The floor was not high. Nancy knew I would be fine. She screamed for me to run and raised her knife to slash at Michael. Every slash was filled with the determination to die. My other leg was also injured. By the time I limped up, I found that the door was locked. A sense of fear spread throughout my body. Woof, 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 woof. "Nancy, Nancy, Nancy, don't do this, don't do this, I beg you. I beg you." The sounds of fighting and shrill screams came from the small abandoned building. I desperately clawed at the door. By the time my paws were bleeding again, the fighting inside had gradually subsided. The door was suddenly opened, and a fishy smell hit me in the face. I lunged and bit Mark's bloody face, but he kicked me away. "Do you want to die, you animal?" My ribs were broken, but I didn't care about the pain. I quickly got up and rushed into the room. Mark clutched the knife wound on his stomach and ran away. The floor was covered in blood. The small knife was stuck in Michael's chest. His eyes were wide open, and he was no longer breathing. I whimpered as I approached Nancy. She closed her eyes and moved weakly. The fishy smell filled my nasal cavity. The deep knife wound on her neck was still bleeding. I found the phone on the ground. A glimmer of hope ignited in my heart. I tried to turn it on with my mouth and paws to call 120. But no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't turn it on. I'm so useless. Leo couldn't be with Nancy. Grape couldn't protect Nancy. I pulled at her hem and licked the blood on her body. "Nancy, don't sleep. Don't sleep, okay? I'm begging you. I'm really begging you." I barked anxiously, but no one heard me. Suddenly, a soft touch came from my head. Nancy slowly raised her hand and stroked my head. "Leo, I've avenged you." Tears fell from my eyes. I knew for the first time that dogs could also cry. "I'm sorry. This time it's your turn to be alone. You always protected me before. I wanted to protect you once too." My mournful howls attracted the residents. They called the police and 120. But Nancy couldn't hold on until the doctor arrived. I squatted by Nancy's hand. If anyone took a step forward, I would let out a threatening growl. "Look, it's the first time I've seen a dog cry. Oh my, is that the girl's dog? How pitiful." More and more people gathered around, but I was like a small mountain, not moving at all. Nancy's body was taken away, and I was taken with it. Later, the police were all amazed, saying that a seemingly weak and gentle girl had almost killed two burly men. They all thought Nancy was amazing, that it was all incredible. But only I knew that she had the ruthlessness to fight to the death because she loved me. Nancy was cremated. I stayed with the police force and helped them arrest Mark. Later, I was recruited and continued the work I hadn't finished in my past life. I work hard every day to save people because I believe that the more people I save, the more God will hear my prayers. If He can hear me, please promise me that I can be with Nancy in my next life. Forever and ever, never to be parted.